Hi guys, Rob here again. Now this isn't a Tuesday video because I look on my calendar and I see that it's a Wednesday. But yesterday I was in the studio all day with Little Men because I'm producing another new album. I mean, Nick Allen, the songwriter, is throwing songs out like there's no tomorrow. And this album is going to be very different to the last one, which I think is over there, Visions. I also cut my thumb this morning, but you can see my eyes better and also my shoulders better. So apart from my thumb being cut from a shard of glass that I found on my floor from something I broke the other day, clumsy, it was behind my Ludwig bass drum. I thought it was a bit of paper, pick it up and boom. But these are brilliant. My girlfriend got me those, Emma, got me these great plasters that say things like, please don't ask, and whoops, and things like that. So anyway, so there's my thumb. Here am I. It's a Wednesday. So I was in the studio with Little Men producing new music. So that was a great day. So that means that we've got things to finish. We want to get it done quickly. That means that I don't have time sometimes to sit down and do these little bits to camera. But it's been a busy old time. So that was yesterday. Moving back to Monday, we were rehearsing for a Little Men gig, which is happening this Sunday in Sturm, the Queen's Head in Box. If you want to check them out, check out the website, Queen's Head and Sturm, and you'll see all the Little Men Facebook or Instagram, and you'll see the address of the pub. Great little pub. We play at the back and it'll be in the evening, I think, starting probably about 8ish, I guess. I don't know, you better check the details, but yeah, we're rehearsing for that and we're rehearsing tonight. And then the weekend on Saturday, I was on a session with my good friend John Bucket, who is the owner of Earthworm Studios that I've mentioned before. It's the place where we do our recording drum days as well, and there'll be another date coming up before Christmas for that. So if you've got a home studio or you've got some mics and you're a drummer and you don't know quite what to do with them to get the best sound from, you know, your garage or your front room, wherever you record, whether you've got 1 mic, 2 mics, 4 mics, 6, 8 mics, we go through all miking techniques from like the early 50s right the way through to the modern day. But that's again for another day. But we will be doing that, and dates coming up, we think in December or January. So watch this space. But we were there working with a musician friend of mine called Andy Maggs, who's a great bass player. I used to gig with him in Innes Seiben's band back in the day. We made 2 or 3 albums together and did a lot of touring and a lot of drinking and laughing together. He asked me to come along and play on some songs. So we workshopped them up at Narm Studios for an evening and then waited a week, and then we recorded them last Saturday just gone. And that was brilliant. And for the session, the sort of material Andy is writing, because he sings as well, he plays guitar, he plays a little bit of drums too, he's a very talented man. I was kind of hearing like a kind of Harvest, Neil Young, maybe the band as well, that kind of sound, Levon Helm. I definitely knew it was going to be my 14x8 DW snare drum. So I knew that was going to be the snare of choice, tuned down with 3 gels on it, and it just sounds awesome. But when I got there, I was hoping that I could use a Heyman kit. Now, Heyman were a great company that were around in the early 70s or mid 70s. But I know they were very popular drums and they sounded great. And my friend Clive Deemer swears by them in the studio. He loves them. And I saw Rock and Music, which is a shop here in the UK, up in Rotherham. They had one that came in and it was a bit dirty, and they just took a picture of it on their Instagram, said this will be cleaned up and it'll be online in a week or so. I messaged straight away, said, you know, I would like it, or whether I buy it or someone I know would like it, please give me first call on it. They were like, of course. And it was only like 750 quid or something. It was pretty cheap. And I had things going on at the time, so I couldn't really. So John at the studio, I phoned him and said, listen, John, I want you to buy this kit because you need another kit for the studio. And he just bought it, no questions asked. Because bizarrely, a good friend of his, I think Brendan, had said about Heyman just a week or so before. It's weird how these things happen. So then my kit comes along with my phone call and he goes, I'm having it. And it was a gold finish. I'll put the pictures up. You're probably looking at them right now. It was a great sounding kit, and it had the original heads from 1974, which were, Remo heads for Heyman, and it just sounded so warm and so lovely. And I posted some clips, and again, I might put them up in a minute if I've still got them, but they're on my Instagram and Facebook. And the kit sounded so warm. And it was a 13, 16, 22. The snare was there as well, but that was a little bit more funky. And I'm actually taking that kit over to Tristan, my good friend over at Dramatic in Frome, and he's gonna take all the tension bolts off and grease them all up and everything and make it tunable, because some of them wouldn't tune. It's sort of rusty and a bit tight in some of the nut boxes. So he's going to look at it, but it was an awesome sounding kit, and it sounded just fabulous for the session, because it wanted to be sort of modern sounding, but with a nod towards the 70s. And that Heyman kit just delivered in spades, I think is what they say. And the 22-inch bass drum was ported, rather largely ported, had a massive hole in it. And it still had the original head on it, but whoever had owned it had left about that much head on it, and it obviously the circle all the way around, so you could get the mics right in there, with plenty of air moving, and it was just sounded great, very dry, and had that brilliant kind of sound. Very exciting. I loved playing it. The tom holder was a bit funky, but I could get it in a good place to play, unlike my Ludwig Super Classic, which I always struggle with a little bit. And as I've said before, I don't mind toms being on snare stands, but I find it a little bit, I find it just hinders the bottom ring of the bottom head, obviously, because that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, so I didn't want to put it on a stand, but I could have done. So it is sat nicely, played nicely, tuned nicely, just what we wanted. So really exciting. So that was quite an experience, and I can see now why Heyman kits are so sought after by drummers and engineers and studios, because it just sounded so great, and it had the white reso coating inside, which I'm never sure is, Ludwig did it, and I'm not sure if it was just to hide how bad the plies were of the wood. I don't know. And they say it's for sound. I don't know. If you're a vintage guy and you know more about it, I mean, I've got the books and I've read it, but is it a thing or not? Please leave comments below. I'm not knocking it or anything. I'm just asking, is it a thing? Might be, might not. So yeah, and also if anyone's got a Heyman kit out there they're looking to sell, then please get in touch, because I would be interested. Very interesting sound. And as I say, that gold kit could be sat here, but I decided to pass it on. But like John said, it's always in the family now. It's at the studio if you need to borrow it. I want to record it here, it's always there. So that's kind of a good thing. And that kit goes to a good home. It doesn't get put in a skip or end up somewhere where people don't know what they've got. So that's always nice as well, when a kit ends up in a good place. So that was fun. And, on the session, it was kind of, again, it's one of those things where you know the songs, you've made the chart, you've listened to the MP3s, but physically playing them in a studio environment with a click and with the new backing, guide vocal tracks and guitar track, it's a whole different kettle of monkeys, as I say. It's a very different experience. And as a drummer, that minute that click starts, you've got your 2-bar counting or whatever you've asked for, and you begin, you're the foundation of the whole song. It's building up from you're on the basement and you're building it up bottom to the top. And some of the decisions you have to make at that point are quite crucial. And through the years of working with a lot of singers and songwriters and, engineers and producers, and I've learned quite a few different tricks and a few ways to kind of look ahead, 4 or 5 steps ahead, which would take a whole 2-hour session to go into, because that little fragmented bits, you know, that build up to something bigger, but they're kind of small building blocks to get to that eventual thing. And I'm actually working on a kind of teaching platform to, you know, to present it to a teaching platform to do that. So I don't want to give everything away now, but you know, those steps are important. So for all you guys who've gone in and thought, oh yeah, I'm tracking first to a guide, what's going to happen further down the road? I'm very thankful that the people who have employed me through the years employ me for that reason. They sometimes ask me and say, look, it's intro, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, or whatever, chorus out or verse out, you know, whatever the standard or what the song form is, whatever it is, or if it's a jazz tune, blah, 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 ABA, you know, whatever. And they say, but I want you to decorate it. I want you to frame. I think it was Lorena McKinnon that said to me that I frame, and I always do that when I say frame her music beautifully. And I've heard other people say it in similar kind of terms, that I kind of know where to put the moments. And I'd like to say it's complete genius. It isn't. It's learned behavior from listening to a lot of records, seeing a lot of people play, and exposing yourself in, you know, to a lot of different musical, and putting yourself in a lot of different musical situations, you know, whether it be reading gigs, you know, theatre gigs, or understanding how that works, or whether it's, you know, down the local pub where someone says, just watch me for the stops, and you don't know the song, and you're like, oh, it's a shuffle in 4, there's the tempo, 1, 2, 3, watch me for the stops. And it's like, oh, you know, that experience, or intense recording experience, or intense touring experience, you know, loads of things we could say, you know, working with people who aren't very good with clicks, and you have to work with that without ever mentioning that someone isn't very good at working with a click to upset the you know, the apple cart. Same as playing live, is if that sort of thing. You know, there's loads of different things, people management that come into it, as well as musical skills. But, you know, it never fails to surprise me, you know, how many times you're in a new scenario at the drop of a coin, or flip of a hat, or flip of a coin, drop of a hat. Because you end up in a different place immediately, drawing all of those skills. And I'm there playing these songs thinking, right, I need to think this bit is going to get big at the end. How big? You know, how strongly do I play the crashes? How big are the fills going to be? So plenty of talking with Andy about getting ready for those bits when they occur, making notes on my music, trying it out a few times. You know, how does it sound in this room on these mics when I do that? You know, maybe I don't have to crescendo quite so much to let the cymbals do the talking. You know, I don't have to lay into them so hard, or do I? You know, so ask if there's going to be Hammond on there at the end playing chords and a big rock guitar. I may need to lay in. So, you know, as I say, it's not some sort of wizardry. It's about talking to the artist, finding out what it needs, listening to the music. On one of the tunes, I said, it needs to stop here, which I didn't think in the rehearsal we did, the run through the week before. And I stopped the track and said to the boys, what does it sound like? I'm going to put a stop in here, you know, and it worked. Sometimes they could say, no, sail straight through, don't stop. And that's fine too. But, you know, all of a sudden, your musical brain, when you're in this situation, just me in a room, I can see them through the glass screen, I'm just tracking, it's me creating this thing, you know. But with the stress of that, you just relax. You know, it takes a while to do that, because it is quite stressful. Like, oh, I'm doing my thing first. And if it's wrong, so you have to rely on them as much as you. So my musical brain said, like, that's a stop, man. You need to present that to them and just say, this is a possible stop, guys. It could sound really good. The door's open. That looks creepy. Been watching a lot of horror films lately. Looks like a hand's going to come out or something. So, yeah, me and Emma, we need to start watching horror films. It's not a good scene. So, yeah, that kind of thing is great. And when it pays off, it's brilliant. And then you've put your little imprint on the music. You're doing that anyway because of your drum part and what you're playing, and the enthusiasm you bring to the session, and, you know, the bubbliness and the like positivity of like, let's get this done. Yeah. You know, that's how I like to work. And I tell my students to do a similar thing. Always keep it positive. And if you're worried about anything, talk about it. Don't just sit there tracking and making mistakes or not enjoying it, because then you will make mistakes. You know, make sure you talk to the producer, engineer, songwriter, other band members if they're there. You know, keep it all a open conversation, because the minute one of us goes into their own little world, it changes the vibe of the music. We've all got to be open and to share it, which sounds a very hippie thing, but it's true. You know, the love in the room and the music, musicality and the talent in the room, you know, it has to come together, has to work together, that power to make it all sound good and tight. So those interesting little moments, interesting, again, tuning of the snare drum for different songs to see how the snare sits in with the vocal, or does it get in the way of another part of the instrumentation? Things you don't think about when you just see someone whacking away, on the drum kit on an Instagram clip, drum cover playing all over everything or whatever. Or me doing one of my drum rambles, We don't think about it at that point, but we don't have to. That's just us freestyling. But when we're in the studio, these things are really important. And they're sometimes not in any books. There's things people don't talk about. So you have to be ready. So if then someone comes and says, look, do you mind playing the studio snare? Because I think it's going to be great. We don't go, oh, I don't play that. I play this. You go, okay, it's for the music. They're not saying I'm a rubbish drummer. They're asking if I could use my talent on this different drum because it's going to sound better. That's the way we look at it. Same with the cymbal. I mean, John asked me to take off one of my Legend ride cymbals, and he said he's got a 23-inch Zildjian Sweet Ride. Could we put that on? And I was open. I was like, yeah, okay. I'm not going to get fired for being a Vulcan endorser by using a cymbal that isn't a Vulcan cymbal, if that's the way it has to be. So we tried it, and it didn't work. So I ended up putting another Vulcan on, which did work. And John was like, yeah, that works. Yeah, my mistake, but it was worth a go. All these experimentations, it's all part of the journey. And next Wednesday and Thursday, I've got a session down in Devon for a couple of days with a good friend of mine, Rob Way, and I'm going to be working on his music, which is going to be more kind of dance orientated. So again, I'm going to be looking at, I'll take my charts down, I'll know the music, I've been given the references, I'll be thinking of what kind of snare sounds I should be doing, what rhythms and patterns and cymbal sounds, and when I get there, I'll know the songs, so we can really get into the weeds, as they say, of getting the performance. And that's the main deal, is getting that performance. So yeah, going back to Saturday, it was great getting into that headspace of, Jim Keltner, Levon Helm. I don't know who played drums on Harvest, actually, but that kind of 70s vibe, the sort of sounds you hear on the Billy Joel records and things like that, and Tapestry, Carole King, and the James Taylor records, which I know most of those, or some of them were Steve Gadd, weren't they? So yeah, it's that, and it sounds pretentious, but I think that's where the artistry comes in, because I think no matter what level you are of musician, and you're on a session like that, the red light syndrome, you just have to forget that and play the music. You're there because they've chosen you. Try your best not to stress. Just do the best performance you can. Ask the questions about the music. Listen to the music. Know that you're playing the music, but it's not about you. It's about you playing the music, if that makes sense. It's not like I need to get all my chops in. I need to be heard over everyone else by the time the final mix is done. I need to get my fills in or my best moves. That's got to be thrown out the door. I think Quincy Jones has got a sign saying, before you go into a studio, leave your egos here in like an umbrella stand or something with an arrow. And that's everything, So listening to the music, asking the questions. If you're not sure about anything, seek out the answer, talk to people. I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with my volume in my headphones. I'm not comfortable with the mix. I'm not comfortable with my drum sound. What about my part? Is my part right? Ask the questions. Don't just do it and feel like, oh, I've done it, that's it. And then someone says, actually, we should try it like this. And then go, I'm not doing it again. Oh, you've got that take, that's all I'm doing. Think, okay, well, that's a shame. I like that take and it's good. I'm a drummer, I know it works. But yeah, okay, let's try it, which we did on Saturday. John said, let's try like a Wolfpack, I think that's what they call, type groove on this, and put a Ringo tea towel on the snare and put two 16-inch crashes on the hi-hat and let's change it up. I mean, it was totally different to the vibe we wanted, but hey, you've got to try these things out. Again, it didn't work, but hey, we learned something in the process. All of that stuff, and as you can tell, I'm alive and I get electrified by recording. I mean, I love live work, don't get me wrong. It's there and then it's done in front of the audience, but when you can spend time to create in the studio like that, there's something, as I say, artistic. The artistry of it is fine. It's amazing. Every little thing that I do is going to be kind of like a time capsule forever on that MP3, on that CD, on that vinyl, or all three, or tape these days. Tapes are coming back into being popular. So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about all of those things really. It's kind of a collective thing about studio playing, what I've been up to, a bit of a catch up. And also, I know I did a post last week about this album, sorry, non-Beatle fans, Revolver, but I've just bought another copy, look. It's on the Odeon label, very quickly, Horzu. It's another pressing that I wanted. It's on the, I won't get it out. but it's on, I think it's the red and white label. But there's another Odeon with a blue label, blue and black, which I'm also going to get at some point. So anyway, anorak stuff there again. But I bought yet another copy, but it was on eBay. It's a bit tatty, so I didn't mind. But it was 15 quid, so that's okay. I don't mind, but I can put it with my pile of other ones over there. And I'm still looking for the Winchester copy, which I think is an Apple pressing of the Got to Get You Into My Life with the louder toms. I found it online, and they definitely pop more than some of the other copies I've got. But hey, enough of that. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. If you want to leave any comments down below, please do. If you want to, get in touch about drum lessons, or me producing your music, or me playing on your music, or both, or all three, then just give me a shout here. There's my email. You can either comment below or contact me, as I say, on the email or my social media. All good. And if you want to ask me any questions as well, we haven't done a question thing for a while, and I must go through, I'm looking at my laptop here, must go through there a few questions and do one of those again. So if there's any questions, please ask me and I'll get back to you. So have a groovy week. Take care. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I shall see you hopefully on Friday with another video. See you then. Cheers. Bye.